Well, the new album, Processions, is out in May. I believe it's May 20th.
That's right.
There you go. I'll do my research.
Yeah.
It's obviously a fitting title, given that it's kind of moved on from the debut State of Being. In what way do you feel that Imonolith has progressed since State of Being?
Well, thing is like there was just the songwriting. Brian Waddell and I wrote all of State of Being in the majority of it in, I'd say, between 2015 and 2018.
Okay. So
like it was an ongoing process. While we were playing with Devin Townsend Project, we were writing music, because it's no secret that when Devin started stuff like Strappy Young Lad or Devin Townsend Band, or it always had a bit of a shelf life. You know what I mean? It was like never going to be an ongoing thing. So we were even surprised at how long Devin Townsend Project lasted, which was pretty much a good 10 years, which is the longest thing he's ever done in the book, the biggest, most successful thing he's done to date. And he's doing great now, right? But so we're kind of expecting it. So around 2015, it's like, let's write just in case that goes, because I didn't really have any interest in joining another band or being a hired gun or something like that. I'd rather take a shot at doing something that was our own. So with that precursor, we wrote all this music that was State of Being, but it was during time we were with Devin, and we just did it on the side just in case. And then 2018, the inevitable happened, and it was all good. It's like, Devin's awesome, still friends with him, and I have no hard feelings whatsoever. Just now we can move on and do that. So we did that, but that was kind of the writing and the initial starting of Imonolith, or that type of writing back then.
Yeah.
But it progressed so much getting John Howard in the band. And then, it's like Brian Waddell isn't in the band anymore. He just basically, he never liked touring with Devin Townsend Project either. And he just wanted to stop doing it all together, right? So John Howard and I took over the writing process from when Beav and I were doing it. And when John came in for State of Being, the whole album was written. He contributed to a song, We Never Forget, and Instinct, but other than that, it was mainly Beav and I. So that progression alone was huge, because how John and I write versus how Beav and I wrote, it's definitely more progressive.
Okay.
and heavier, I'd say. And it's cool. And I love everything that Brian, John, and I wrote on State of Being. I love that record to this day. But it's just a natural progression, and bands progress as you go. So there's a little more samples and stuff. There's a little more keyboards. There's the production's different, a lot more. It's more progressive even in songwriting. So, just from those times, that's how it progressed. It's a change of people who are writing it. And the other guys in the band put in riffs too. It's just John and I are the head guys who take everything, we mold it, we create the music that way, right? So that's the biggest difference, I'd say.
Very good. It's very interesting to hear that kind of origin of the band, because I think normally, even if you've involved with other projects, it's like, well, you do this thing here and there, but obviously with Imonolith, you had that view that at some point it was going to become the main band. So that's an interesting take on it. As for the album itself, it's interesting because I believe it was originally announced as an EP.
Yeah.
And if you look at the track list, there's 7 songs, including the Bjork cover, and 3 demo tracks. Do you feel the demo tracks are an important part of the album?
100%. If not maybe the most important part, because new music's new music, man.
Yeah.
You're going to listen to it and you're going to go, okay, yeah. And already the people who support us and listen to us, they hear and they're like, whoa, this has evolved. Like it still sounds like Imonolith, John singing, it's my drumming, it's like all these different things, but it's evolved. But I think the reason why those 3 demo tracks were so important are those are demo tracks created in like 2016, 2017, 2018. Like they're actually, those 3 were 2018. The songs were written then, but those are 2018 demos, and it really does show a progression from not only now then to now for where Progression's album is, but it shows a progression even from the demos to State of Being. Because if you listen to those songs and then you listen to State of Being, they're radically different. It's like, especially Instinct, like it's all double bass. It's like crazy, way more crazy drumming on it, right? And the overdubs aren't there. Just it changed a lot. But you know, it really does show that progression, and that's why we felt it was important. Lots of people love that. It's like whenever I got an album, it's like demos. You're like, oh man, what's it sound like? I remember when I was younger, it's like I was always curious and always wanted to get my hands on the demo versions, right? Just to see how different it was. Sometimes I like the demo versions more too, you know? So it's cool to be in a position to do that for the people now who are listening to your band, you know? And it's like, here it is to show that progression. And the reason it jumped from an EP to an album, this is very important too. And I've been explaining this in all the interviews, is originally we just wanted to release singles. So it wasn't even going to be an EP. It was just like, we recorded Angel Bell, we recorded a couple covers and The Lesson. And we're like, let's just spread those out over a year to keep our supporters happy. And then we're going to go on this tour, which we should be on right now, rescheduled again. But I'm very confident next year it will. There's no question it'll go through. But anyways, knock on wood. Yeah, we decided to do that. Then we realized getting close to the tour, it's not going to happen. And we're like, oh man, we better put something else out. Then we decided, let's do an EP. But then for an EP, all we really had were like 5-6 songs. And we're like, we're going to be releasing 4 of these songs, including the Rain remix, which did really well for us. I'm like, no one's going to be interested in an EP if they've already heard 80% of it. You know, it's like, so we're just like, let's do a full album, but let's make it interesting. I came up with the name Progressions. I said to John, I was like, dude, let's call it Progressions, just to show where the band started all the way up to where we are now. Throw in a couple covers to show that, hey, you know, Army of Me is not a typical metal song. You know what I mean? But it sounds badass. Ever since I heard it for the first time in '95, I was just like, that's an awesome song. Imagine doing that heavy. So yeah, we did that, and you know, it's just showing everything, right? And so it was really important for it to become an album, because then we could throw the demo tracks in there. People are going to hear a bunch of stuff now that they haven't heard versus just the singles we released. So yeah, you know, and so far the response has been awesome. Some reviews have been coming in. It's great. I'm really happy about it.
Oh, good stuff. It's quite interesting hearing you kind of see that way, that there was no point in releasing an EP when people have heard 80% of the music. I did an interview the other day with a band called Six Sense, which is another Canadian band from Montreal. And they've got a 5-song EP just released, and they'd already released 3 of them as singles. And their reasoning was, if you look at Spotify, things like that, listens kind of taper off towards the end. So the more familiar the audience was with the songs, the more likely it was they'd listen to the whole thing.
That's it. And you know what? That's another approach that you can take, and it's very justified. They're correct in saying that. But you know what? For us, it wasn't about the Spotify plays or this or that. It's solely for our audience.
Yeah,
that's what it's for. It's like, you know what, man, we can focus on plays, which are very important. I get that. You know what the most important thing is, though? And you know what's going to increase your Spotify plays more than anything else? One thing. It's called touring. And when you get out there and you tour and you're on bills and you're playing in front of new people, you get on a bigger bill and you're opening or whatever.
Yeah.
That's when you really see your Spotify plays go up. You know, it's like, yeah, I saw it every time Devin Townsend would release a record, Devin Townsend Project, you know, do it. We go out on tour, damn, Spotify plays went through the friggin' roof, because, you know, and we weren't always headlining. We headlined a lot, but we'd be on other stuff too, opening for other bands. And it was amazing what that new audience would do to the numbers, right? So our approach here was, yeah, obviously we want to build that. We're still a new band, and we're still trying to get ourselves out there. We haven't even technically toured, you know, we just did a small West Coast swing in BC, but we wanted to give our audience something they could really bite into. And you know, I think the message of this album is super important for us because we do want to show the progressions. We're very proud of State of Being and everything on that record. But after 2 albums and COVID and how it just messed up everything, we do want to show that progression. So it was better to do it the way we did it in an album versus an EP. So
Yeah.
that's our approach behind it. But yeah, the other approach with that other Canadian band you're talking about, that's a great example of how to approach it too, right?
Yeah. No, it's a great example of how it's a multifaceted industry, and
Really,
also just a venue for artistic expression and ways and means. You know.
Yeah.
So, like you say, you've released a few songs from the album so far, and the most recent one being "The Lesson," which you did the music video for. What was it about this song that you felt was, I hesitate to say deserving, but warranted the music video treatment? And was it to be released single?
I'll tell you, it's funny. I know, and John knows a ton of people, big management, you know, booking agents, just respectable people in the music industry, right? And what we did is we sent out a few songs. We sent out Angel, we sent out Army of Me, and The Lesson, months and months and months ago, to all these people, and we just said, check it out. Here it is. What do you think? You know, what strikes you as like the song, or what would you guys do a music video for? Because initially we always thought The Lesson would be the song, but we weren't sure. But it was crazy when everyone came back to us, and like, this was A&R reps, this was PR reps, this is like our radio people in the States. Like, we sent it to a bunch of people. Overwhelmingly, The Lesson was the song. They're like, this is perhaps the best song you guys have written. Was the thing we heard over and over consistently. And these people don't talk to each other, but that was the consistent thing. We're just like, this has everything. It's heavy, it's super catchy, but there's emotion behind it. The lyrics are super deep, and it just was in line with what we thought would be the best song to do as well. So once we saw that, it was a given. It's just like, okay, this is coming out right before we release the record. We'll shoot a music video for this. And that was the first time we kind of did that, because the past songs, we just we knew that was the song to push. So we said, it was our gut feeling. So we pushed that for State of Being. But with The Lesson, we had a good idea. Again, it was our instinct, but we really wanted some feedback, because this album is important for us. You know, we released an album on March 27, 2020, literally when COVID blew up.
Yeah.
And, you know, when that happened, we were just like, okay, you know, what can you do? Yeah. So this album is really important. The songs we released, the video we released, how good it looks. And like, we went all out on the video and everything. It was super important. So when we got that feedback, it was a given.
It must be very gratifying as well, because I'm sure it's probably still the case now with labels and things like that, but it used to be that bands were really pushed to release covers as singles. So if everyone from radio to A&R and everyone else is saying, oh, this song of yours, that's the one. You know, and like you say, Army of Me is a really recognizable song. It's a classic song. So to have your song picked over it is a really good signal of how well you've come as songwriters.
Yeah, you know, it's funny you mentioned that, because we were scared including Army of Me in that. It's like, we should only do originals, but you know, the other originals that are being released on this album are really left field. Yeah. I'll tell you that right now. It's a surprise, and then the album title progressions will make even more sense when you hear it. But yeah, with Army of Me, we included it just because we really love how it turned out. Like, it sounds badass, and we released it and it's all good and all that. But, you know, we were kind of scared that everyone would be, oh, it's Army of Me, it was already a big song, you know, that could blow you up, whatever. But it was crazy, man. they all just said, no, the lesson, that's the song. It's you guys too. Push you, don't push the cover. And it's like, yeah, we didn't want to push the cover. You know, the last thing, it's funny because lots of bands are like, you do a cover, you can blow up from it or whatever, but usually there's a curse attached to that. You know what I mean? And I was even scared about putting 2 covers on the record, which we did. But you know what? We just wanted, again, to show the progression of the band. Just like, hey, we can do this. We can do originals. Hey, let's show you what we sounded like, 6 years ago in our demos versus, now.
Yeah.
Or 4 years ago and versus our demos. So yeah, it was very gratifying to get that feedback from really big management companies, PR, like a whole bunch of different people, credible people in the industry.
Yeah, it's good, having this track listing, which comprises of so many different aspects, and like I said, the original songs, the covers, the demos. It's almost like a best of the Monolith in a way, which is a weird thing to say about your second album, but it's it really, like you say, it showcases so much diversity within the band itself.
Yeah, you're nailing it. That's exactly what it is. Like, you nailed it when you said that, because really that's what it is. It's like, we have these things called the Monolith Chronicles. It's videos that we put out, right? And with it, this is kind of our Monolith Chronicles. You know what I mean? It's musically speaking. And yeah, in a sense, it kind of is the best of it. It's like, hey, Breathe, Instinct, and the Rain are the demos that we released. All 3 songs did really well for us off State of Being, just for streaming and all that stuff. So we put them out there as kind of the best of State of Being, but the demo versions. Then we put out these new songs, which we felt were the best of the new material. And then we do a couple covers to show it. So yeah, it's exactly what you said. It's pretty cool.
Glad I was able to summarize it well enough.
Yeah, 100%.
Just finally then, like you mentioned, you do have a tour day scheduled. I believe Europe kicks off in January next year. Are there any plans to tour before heading to Europe, or have you got shows lined up in Canada and America?
Right now, we're looking into a few options in North America for 2022. So originally, the plan was to kick off in Europe and the UK with that headlining tour March 27, 2020. Got rescheduled like 3 or 4 times. It's just a nightmare. And but now that's going to happen. But like, things have opened up in North America a ton. I just saw Slipknot in a full arena in Vancouver. Barely anyone was wearing masks, and so it's time. So our American booking agent is on stuff, and we're looking at different things, a whole bunch of different possibilities. But yeah, we're really trying to jump on something because it's booking up fast.
Yeah.
Right. So it's hard to even get venues if you want to do headline and stuff, but then other tours that are being put together, it's hard to jump on those just because, a lot of the times they've already chosen bands or whatever, right? So we do have some options though, and we're looking at it, and fingers crossed we'll be touring in 2022 in North America to start, and then Europe, and then we take it from there.
Excellent. Well, I really do hope that works out for you, dude, because listening to this music, it's so like the songs in them of themselves are diverse. So the album is going to be just this broad spectrum of quality music and musicianship. So it's something that needs to be heard. And so I really do hope you can get that out there and really elevate Imonolith.
Yeah, and that's the plan, is like the live show it's gonna rip your head off. It's like we aren't librarians up there. It's like, I think even when you watch a lesson video, which is more of a performance video than it was like having any concept, you could have went deep, because the lyrics for the lesson are deep, and you could have made a concept video out of it very easily. But we're just like, you know what, we've already kind of done that a couple times. Let's just perform. Let's just give people a taste of what we'll look like live. And that was it. We went into one of the nicest, if not the nicest studio in Vancouver, called the Armory, which has recorded AC/DC, Van Halen, like just massive bands, right? Nickelback, all that. DTP recorded a lot of the records there too. And we recorded our record there. So we were just like, let's go into a really nice setting and do a performance video. And, you know, that's it. To get out there and to tour is going to be everything for us. That's what's really going to push us streaming. That's what's going to get us a bigger following. And we're already doing great. Like our following, for having never toured and just putting out records and streaming, we're very happy. You know, it's like, but we know it can be 50 times bigger. You know, we just got a tour. So we're like, if we're going to do a video, let's do a performance video so people know and get a sense of what we're going to look like live.
Yeah, I think the other bonus to that as well is, like you say, having such deep lyrics, in doing a performance video, it doesn't give away too much behind the meaning or anything like that. And people can bring their own interpretations of what the song means to them.
That's it. And the song, actually, the lesson, I wrote the lyrics to that, and it's about empathy. It's about being overly empathetic to a fault, which has happened in my life. The personal stories, which I obviously won't get into, but it's happened in my life a few times where it's just overly empathetic, and it ended up really messing with my life. You know, your feelings end up becoming what they're feeling, and just shit goes wrong, right? But you know, like it was interesting because one of our supporters, I use the word supporters, but I don't like using fans. It sounds derogatory to me. I'm just like, nah, they support us. Without these people, we can't do what we do. So anyways, one of these supporters mentioned in a comment, they're like, yeah, this really applies. The lyrics really apply to what's going on today. When I read those lyrics from the lesson, I think it really applies to what the world is going through and everything. And it was funny because I didn't think about that at all when I wrote those lyrics, but it's 100% applicable to that. So leaving it open-ended like that, it's a beautiful thing. And I do write lyrics like that. Like I avoid her or he or anything like that's labeling someone. I'd rather leave it open-ended, because you can be overly empathetic towards the state of the world today easily. And that song, lyrically, when I reread it with that in mind, I was like, holy shit, this totally fits that. What a totally different approach to it. And I love the lyrics even more, you know. So it is cool to keep it open-ended. And you know what, a video can either really zoom in on the lyrics and you know exactly what that is, or it can be left open-ended, which I think is really cool, and that's why I write like that. And then the listener can interpret it whichever way they want.
Absolutely. Ryan, thank you very much for taking the time to speak to me today. I really do appreciate it, and I wish you only the best with this album, because, like I say, it's a very intelligent piece of work, and hopefully it reaches a very broad audience. So.
That's what we're hoping, man. And hey, thank you so much too. It's like every interview, like I say to everyone, it doesn't matter. It could be Rolling Stone magazine. It could be some guy, you know, who had his first podcast ever. All of them are, and Metal Underground, much respect, by the way. Yeah, no, I love it. Like, seriously, I've read stuff from you guys forever. But anyways, this is huge. So it's like every interview I treat the exact same. It's getting us out there. It's being put out there. So very appreciative for you doing this and reaching out. And thank you very much for the support, man.
Pleasure was all mine. You look after yourself. Have a good day.
You as well. Take care.